right. It's not right what y'all doing. I came from the ghetto too. You made the white man. Why destroy my business? Why destroy my truck? Why steal my computer? I'm trying to make it. Could you understand that? Did y'all see it? I'm trying to make it.
All right, guys. So once again, we got to talk about personal responsibility and accountability. That might be the theme of my videos today. Okay. And we got to discuss an ultra woke feminist sociologist, professor of race and ethnicity at the University of Boston, who came out and made an insane claim trying to justify the violence that came from the BLM/Antifa riots of 2020. Now, guys, before in the past, we've heard some pretty insane excuses from the woke activists as to why looting and violence is okay. Particularly, some people have said it's a form of reparations.
Care if somebody decides to loot a Gucci or a Macy's or a Nike, because that makes sure that that person eats. That makes sure that that person has clothes. That's reparations. That is reparations. Anything they want to take it, because these businesses have insurance. They're going to get their money back. My people aren't getting anything.
Yeah. So with that being said, again, this excuse right here, I think, is even more ridiculous than that excuse. As this professor, Miss Saida Grudy, makes the argument that violence was okay during the BLM protests because property is racist. And because property is racist, it was okay for BLM to damage and destroy property in the name of fighting racism. Take a look.
If we're going to talk about George Floyd and really understand it, then we need to understand community reactions to it. And we often hear politicians, we hear civic leaders from inside Black communities and from outside of them as well. We hear President Biden say, you know, I understand your frustrations, but don't destroy property. Well, when you say that to Black people who historically have been property, one of our greatest weapons against injustice was the looting of ourselves as property from the system of slavery. And what we see in communities is they're reacting to the very racism of what we call property, right? So that's why I think it's very important for, you know, people who see reactions in communities to not judge and to not make assumptions about what is good and not good reactions, and not actually re-victimize communities by saying there's an acceptable and a not acceptable way to react. Listen to them, and then we can say what these communities need.
Bruh, I don't understand how these people get paid to be academics and to teach our kids in college. Okay, this person is a self-proclaimed feminist sociologist of race and ethnicity. Okay, an associate professor of sociology, African American studies, and women and gender studies at Boston University. Okay, this is what we're paying to teach kids in college. But I guess that in academia, fringe ideas belong in these spaces, right? And I've said that before, but damn, this is a real fringe idea, in my opinion. This is one of the most fringe ideas I've ever heard in my life. Because, guys, her argument is basically that Black people should be allowed to destroy property because Black people used to be slaves in this country, which means that they used to be property. And because property in and of itself is racist because Black people used to be property, right, according to her, therefore that gives Black people the right to destroy property today because apparently Black people being property in the past makes the property of today racist. Again, I hope that makes sense, right? I hope that makes sense because it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense whatsoever. Because if what she's saying is true, right? Let's assume what she's saying is true. Then why does the Marxist communist organization Black Lives Matter, why they love collecting property so much, right? If property is so racist, I can't tell because Black Lives Matter, they love collecting a lot of it, right? They love collecting a lot of property, okay? But furthermore, if property is truly racist, then we should have a society based off anarchy, right? And chaos. And the reason why is because at some point down the line, all of our ancestors, I don't care what race you are, at some point your ancestor probably was a slave, right? They probably were somebody else's property at some point, okay? At some point, right? Slavery has been around for millennia, right? Unlike what the woke revolutionaries try to tell you, what they try to say, okay, about slavery, they try to act like it's just an invention of the white man. It's not an invention of the white man, okay? It's been around for a long, long, long time, okay? So at some point, all of our ancestors have probably been slaves. So if that's the case, if what she said is true, if all our ancestors have been property at some point, then we should all just have a right to destroy property, right? We should all just be able to, put as much chaos in society as possible. Why have law and order? Why have any rules or regulations? Why have any of that stuff, right? But again, that is what these woke professors and their woke revolutionaries want. They want chaos, right? This is why I call these people agents of chaos, because that's what they are, okay? They will make any excuse in the book to excuse violence, right? Because, oh, well, they're black. Even though the main people that they're hurting when they do this type of violence is other black people, right? For example, listen to this disabled woman during the George Floyd riots in Minneapolis talk about how destroyed her community was from these anarchists. Take a look.
How was last night?
Scary. I live in the high-rise right back here, and I'd seen them as they came down Lake Street. But then they turned and started coming over here, and I'm sitting out looking out my window. And they went straight to Office Max, the dollar store, and every store over here that I go to. I have nowhere to go now. I have no way to get there because the buses aren't running. These people did this for no reason. It's not going to bring George back here. George is in a better place than we are. And last night, I'm going to be honest, I wish I was where George was, because this is ridiculous. These people are tearing up our livelihood. This is the only place I could go to shop. And now I don't have anywhere to go. I don't have anywhere to get there.
Yeah, so according to the woke feminist, African-American and gender and women's studies professor, this woman right here, we should not listen to her. Right? Don't listen to the fact that these same black people that she's trying to excuse for destroying property, she's trying to make excuses for, saying they shouldn't face any accountability, no responsibility for it. She's saying it's okay for them to do that, even though this black woman, this disabled black woman, is suffering the consequences for it. Okay? They destroyed a place where she shops. The only place that she can shop in her neighborhood was destroyed. So now she doesn't have access to food and resources and the medication that she needs. Right? She didn't have access to it. Because of who? It wasn't because of the white man. It was because of the black folks. Well, maybe some white men, maybe some white Antifa anarchists, they were responsible too. Let's not forget about them. But I'm just saying, in general, I'm just saying the people that she's trying to excuse because, well, property is racist. Well, what about the property that actually belongs to black folks? Is that property racist too? All the property that belonged to black folks that got destroyed by other black folks? Are you trying to say that's justified, that you can just do that because black people used to be property? Because according to our argument, then yes, that is the case, right? And then we need to listen to them, right? We need to hear them out, okay? Don't hear out this woman, right, who's suffering from property destruction. Don't listen to her. What she says don't matter. You need to listen to those people that are actually, committing these acts of violence and riots, right? As if they actually lived through slavery, as if they actually were property themselves, which gives them the right to destroy property. Again, I try to tell people, man, being pro-progressive does not mean being pro-black. Okay, these people are not trying to act in black people's best interest. They don't care about black people. They use the whole racism thing and the woke virtue signaling as a way to progress their own careers, right? Because when it comes down to actually advocating for things that are going to be helpful to black folks, they actually advocate for the exact opposite, right? They don't care about the law-abiding black folks that are suffering at the hands of the black people committing these crimes. They don't care about those people. All they care about are the criminals. They will protest in the street and riot over criminals. But when innocent black folks are getting shot and killed and gunned down every single day in the street, crickets, nothing, silence. If you're a non-black person, if you say something about it, you're racist. If you're a black person and you say something about it, you're a sellout, right? That's how it goes. But then they'll tell people like me that call out that stuff, that are trying to defend people like, you know, this woman, the innocent black folks, who just simply won't save prosperous communities for black people. People that like me, again, that advocate for that stuff by saying, hey, you know what? We don't need to be celebrating and glorifying the thugs and the criminals and the worst among us. Again, we're vilified, right? We're told that we're the black faces of white supremacy. That's what we're told. But people like her that are literally advocating for violence in black communities, they're put on a pedestal and said that, well, they're social justice activists, right? They're race crusaders. They're fighting against systemic racism, right? They're fighting against oppression. Again, it's amazing to me how the people that worship criminals are the ones that are upheld and put on a pedestal as people that are trying to help and benefit the black community. But those who actually care about law-abiding citizens and innocent black folks and protecting lives and wanting prosperity for black folks, those people are seen as sellouts and toms. Again, it's amazing how that works. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.